committee meeting of July 5th, 2022. On this committee are myself, yes, Councillor Kevin O'Toole, Councillor Gladys Blackmore, and Mayor Jackie Clayton. I don't see any delegations, so we'll go right into the director's report. Ms. Whiteway, please.
Thank you, Chair Learners. So just a couple updates from corporate services. We have a multi-department project. It's our ERP project. So finance, procurement, human resources, IT, and strategic initiatives are continuing to work together on this implementation. Currently concentrating on testing and building out training material. As you know, the tax deadline passed. It was Thursday, June 30th. So penalties have been levied against any 2022 outstanding balances. And the next penalty date will be September 1st. The video announcement for the opening of the Crystal Lake Bike Skills Park has garnered over 9,600 views on social media. And it's made it our most engaged post of the year and one of our highest engaged posts ever. The online survey for the stormwater utility public engagement closes this Friday, July 8th. Some 79 responses have been received so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Whiteway? So obviously there's a lot more people interested in bike parks than there are stormwater modeling. Don't blame them. Okay, so next we'll go to Ms. Redding to talk a little bit about the CKC Grandstand concession construction and operation.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Liners. On May 10th, I had the pleasure of accompanying Delegate Jeremy Thiessen to committee, where he shared his vision of construction completion and operationalizing the vacant concession space at the CKC Grandstand. At the direction of committee, administration has continued to work with the delegate and various internal and external stakeholders to bring back the report in your committee agenda package. The report highlights the opportunity to develop the space via a mid-year capital request for $15,000. To operationalize the completed space, administration would then distribute a fair and equitable expression of interest, working closely with the expertise of procurement. It is administration's intention to ensure continued support to Mr. Thiessen so that he is successful in submitting an EOI, highlighting his company Rocket Dogs that would meet the EOI criteria. Administration is confident that operationalizing this proposed social enterprise opportunity will be a game changer at the CKC Synthetic Field and Grandstand, highlighting Council's strategic priorities of inclusive and caring communities, engaging relationships, and quality of life. Administration is recommending that committee receive this report for information. Thank you. I am happy to take questions.
Okay, is there any questions of Ms. Redding? Councillor Blackmore.
Yes, Ms. Redding, I'm wondering if we were to approve the budget line that you have indicated in your report today, would there be any possibility of this being in operation before the fall?
Thank you, through the chair. Our desire is that we would expedite the expression of interest and the construction in working with the support that Mr. Thiessen has already gained. We do have some opportunities in September that have already presented themselves, and so ideally the sooner is better to operationalize this space. The ACAC soccer that Northwest Polytechnic has booked starts September 10th, so we'd like to see this operationalized before that date.
And if a further question for Ms. Whiteway, do we have a funding source that would be available for this?
Thank you, through the chair. So you'll see in a later report that we have identified a funding source, so we've included it with the mid-year capital requests.
Okay, Councillor O'Toole had a question.
Yeah, it was sort of asked already, but what hours would this operation take? Like, is it just on game days, would it be open when there's nothing at the field? That kind of stuff? Has that been talked about already or not?
Thank you, through the chair. So we have had those conversations. Ideally, the game day schedules would be shared with the proponent, and they would then determine their business operations. There is an opportunity to do more than just game days, but that would be a business plan decision on their part.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor Clayton?
Chair Laners. A couple questions in regards to the $15,000. How confident are we that once it's awarded, it actually costs $15,000? We've seen many projects recently increase, so I'm just curious.
So in working with Jeremy's stepdad, he is in the trades business, and that quote that he provided to us included some of the construction fees as gift in kind. And in a further conversation with him, it was deemed prudent that we request the $15,000 to assure that should the gift in kind not go through, that this would cover the construction portion.
You good with that, or Councillor Miller, or Director Miller?
We've also checked with corporate facilities management on the numbers, and Mr. Brown is very confident that for $15,000 we can achieve what we're proposing.
I have a couple other questions if no one else is in the queue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Landers. So is it normal that we would build a ready to go sort of space? I mean, this is a turnkey business for somebody that we're providing, and I'm just curious if this is normal practice. Like, did we do that at the Ernie Radburn Pavilion? Did we do that at Dave Bar, etc.? That's my first question.
Thank you, through the chair. So when we recently changed the operation at the Coca-Cola Center, all of the equipment at that concession space is owned by the City of Grande Prairie, and they operationalize the space. I can't speak to the other concession spaces.
Okay. I'll wait and
Okay.
get more.
Yeah, I'll have a question. So if this new proponent, whoever this may be, gets use of this facility, and they decide, well, I'm going to take advantage of the Charles Spencer lunch hour thing, and they sell out of there for that. Do we have any obligations, franchisee or licensee obligations with the East Link, with all the people that are in there, that says, no, you can't have other people selling into that market because you promised us that would be the case? Or do we have any issues that way?
Thank you, Chair Laners. So in the contracts within East Link Center, it's specific to the indoor spaces. However, both Charles Spencer and St. Joe's have cafeterias that food vendors do supply food there. And I think that it would be prudent that we connect all of those together if this operation deems it appropriate to, or if their desire, I guess, is to operationalize during the lunch hours.
So that would still need to be worked out then, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, we got a couple more questions here. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, through the chair. My question is from your report where it says social impact, meaningful and positive employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities. So when you put this out for tender or request, is it specific for persons with disabilities, or are you opening it up to the market?
So any criteria that is directed by committee will be provided in the expression of interest. Those were some of the criteria that we talked about when Mr. Thiessen first presented his vision, I guess, for that space. And so if those criteria are something that committee would like us to have in there, then we would ensure that it's in there.
Okay, thank you. Does this also open up to not-for-profits who deal with persons with disabilities too?
Again, at the direction of committee, we would make sure that we include that criteria in the expression of interest.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Leonard. Yeah, I think I really like the direction this is heading with the social procurement piece. I guess just one of my thoughts is when we originally built this facility, we talked about the fact that it could be a fundraising opportunity for sport groups as well. And so here we're building a facility, a turnkey business for somebody, and it's not really doing that anymore. So I just wondered if you've had any discussions with the nonprofit sport organizations that regularly use that facility that might be interested in using that space as a fundraising space.
Thank you, through the chair. I have not. This is the first that I'm aware group that has come forward in any interest in operationalizing that space.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair Laners. I really like the direction that this is going, but I do have an obvious, for me, is there a requirement for these groups to meet all health safety regulations? And second, are they able to handle the amount of business that could happen? There's not been one there before. And so having worked at previous events at the Bose and Crystal Center, I found that when you get slammed, you get slammed. So a service is important that we have someone that knows how to deal with food services. So has that been considered, and is that part of the plan?
Thank you, through the chair. So absolutely all of the business operating criteria through Alberta Health Services would need to be met. And to your second question regarding the number of guests that would potentially be accessing this space during games, that would be within their business plan. And I know that Mr. Thiessen has continued working with Community Futures and Community Foundation, and that those are some of the considerations that we've had, because we've recognized that game days can be very busy. The space is designed for more grab and go type food, not meals. So by operationalizing it with equipment that would be, hot dogs and French fries, then hopefully that would speed up his delivery to the community.
Thank you very much.
Okay, one more question and then I'll finish and then we'll move on. Or two more questions. Okay, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Leonard. You said that Mr. Thiessen can keep up. So is this a given that he's getting this contract to start with?
Yeah, pardon me, that I need to correct that. So he would still, Mr. Thiessen would need to submit an expression of interest, and there would be scoring criteria outlined that we would need to follow. And so whoever the proponent is would need to be able to keep up with that demand. My apologies.
On the contract, I had a question. Your second to last paragraph mentions that it may be an initial award for a 5-year seasonal lease. So is it, we're doing 6 months and they may have the opportunity to do 5 years?
So my apologies, through the chair, thank you. Through the conversation that I had with procurement, we identified that 6-month time frame could change direction for a lot of people. And so in order to protect both parties, the City of Grande Prairie and that proponent, we would have a first right of refusal in that 5-year contract. So if things do change in those 6 months that it's not operational, then we would either put it back out and they could step away from that contract, or they would have first right to operationalize it again the following season.
Okay. I thought Councillor Blackmore had her hand up.
I think I'm a little confused about process this morning because we have this coming forward with recommended except for information motion, and then 2 items later we have the financing coming forward. So I don't know if we accept this for information, if we're telling you to go ahead, or I'm not sure what the appropriate action is for this report.
I think Director Miller wanted to jump in on this one.
All right, thanks, Chair Laners. We did talk about this at CLT, and we thought it'd be most appropriate to bring it forward and then receive it for information. And then the next 2 reports down, there is a mid-year capital request. So initially it was supposed to be on the community services agenda, but with corporate going first, we thought this would be a most appropriate way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chair Laners. I really support the idea of using this as a social endeavor, regardless of who ends up with the final contract. I like the contract being first right of refusal. When you're locked into a 5-year agreement for a 6-month venture annually, like you have no idea how that's going to turn out or what life is going to unfold like. So I'm quite supportive of this, and I look forward to seeing what committee will do with it.
Mayor Clayton?
Thanks, Chair Leonard. So if the committee approves this report for information, and then further on in the meeting approves the capital request, you're going to execute this as laid out in the report. I'm just curious where council's opportunity is to have some input on this. Contrary to Councillor Blackmore, I think that it's great for somebody to be able to get out of it if it doesn't work, but I also have concerns about basically giving somebody that 5-year contract. Once awarded, we're giving them a turnkey business, and I think that there are other people in the community in the same scenario that may be interested, as well as nonprofit groups for fundraising. So the 5-year term's a little long, in my opinion. Thanks.
Ms. Redding, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you. Most certainly, that can be considered at the direction of committee. We will change or modify that term. In working with procurement, we can ensure that either we explore options that would give it an annual interest, but that was kind of the longest term that we could commit without it. In being fair, that a lot of things do change over that 6-month winter period. So with committee's direction, we can certainly change that.
Okay. So I'm going to try and pull this all together here. I had one final question, though, Ms. Ray. If Mr. Thiessen isn't the successful proponent, does all our gift in kind go out the window? Because it's his parent, his stepdad is going to do, or he didn't need to be? Okay, okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you for that. So I heard that we like the social procurement component. I heard that we like perhaps 3 years instead of 5 years. I didn't say 3, I just made up 3, but shorter than 5 years. And we have a motion to accept for information. I'm okay with accepting it for information, but if someone wanted to subtly add those 2 corollaries to that motion, then that would be good, I think. Councillor Blackmore.
I would move that committee receive this report for information amended to change a 5-year commitment to a 3-year commitment.
Did you want anything about social procurement in there?
It's already in the report.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. And that is carried unanimously. Okay, next we have the mid-year capital review. And I will go to, I don't know on the end here. Go ahead. Okay, I lost it on my screen. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, Shauna.
Thank you, Chair Laners. The mid-year capital review is a touch point for administration to highlight the progress achieved on the most significant approved capital projects. This year, administration has highlighted 6 capital projects and included an appendix that summarizes all capital projects that were active as of January 1st, 2022, and had funding of $500,000 or more. The highlighted capital projects include, the ERP system procurement and implementation. This project is expected to be completed by January 2023 and is currently on budget. Road rehabilitation. The 2022 road rehabilitation projects have commenced and are expected to be completed on budget and finalized before the end of October 2022. The downtown Phase 4 rehab. This phase of the project commenced in 2021 with a small portion of the paving stones and landscaping to be finished in 2022. The project is expected to be on budget and complete by the end of August 2022. The leisure center demolition. This project is in phase 1 of abatement and is expected to be on budget and complete by November 2023. The DIG program. This is an ongoing grant and incentive program that has received numerous applications to date. The city reviews and approves applications that meet the criteria set out in the council policy for this program. The coordinated care campus. This project is in the final stage of design for the renovations, and the supportive units are expected to be complete by November 2022. City Council has placed significant funding towards city infrastructure, recreational, economic incentive programs, and IT infrastructure and software. These projects ensure that the city can provide the services and programs that residents expect, as well as ensuring funding needs can be met. Administration is recommending that committee receive the report for information. I'll now open it up to any questions.
Any questions of Ms. Hanson? Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Chair Laners. In your report regarding downtown, you say it will be complete August with sidewalk blocks and trees. Last we heard, the contractor was struggling to source some trees. Has that changed?
Through the chair. The August 2022 deadline was recently confirmed with engineering. I can't speak directly to if they have been able to source trees, but that was their most recent estimated date of completion.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. Hanson? Oh, Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Laners. Thanks for the report, Ms. Hanson. Just a question in regards to the leisure center demolition. I know it's a big ticket price and it's only about 10% complete, but is there opportunities or have we found opportunities with the province for savings on our end before the project's completed? I know you said it was on budget, but is there an opportunity that will come under budget and we'll save?
Councillor Miller, or Director Miller.
All right. Thanks, Chair Laners. We've just started engaging with the province on it, and we had a startup meeting, but we're anticipating savings, but we haven't formalized that we will see savings, but we anticipate we will.
You haven't tendered it yet then?
No.
Yeah, just in the abatement process. Cool. Thank you for that.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, through the chair. This maybe can go to Manager Miller at this point. It says the downtown rehab finishing the end of August. From what we've been told, that is not the case. Can you clarify if that's correct?
Thanks, Chair Laners. I do recall there was a discussion about the trees may not be available, so we can confirm that. But I think we are anticipating for the most part it will be finished in August. So I thought it was earlier in August, but we're hopeful it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of anybody? Councillor Mayor Clayton, please.
Thank you, Chair Landers. Ms. Hanson, do you happen to know, under the Development Incentive Grant Program, the value of the applications that were approved? I'm just curious. If you don't, you can get it to us later.
Through the chair, I will provide that information back to council.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, I get a motion from someone to accept the report. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Lenners. I would move that administration, that committee recommends the corporate services receive this report for information. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll call that motion. And that carries. Next, we go to the big one, and that would be the mid-year capital requests. And I will ask Ms. Hanson again to lead us through that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lehners. Each year, Council approves the subsequent year's capital plan during the November budget deliberation. As the year progresses, unplanned and emergent capital projects are identified by various departments. Administration has outlined the capital projects in the body of the report that are requiring Council direction. Required funding and funding sources are outlined in Appendix A. These projects have been brought forward due to the time sensitivity of completing the project prior to the fall or early winter of 2022. Administration recommends that committee recommend Council amend the 2022 capital plan to include the additional projects as presented in Appendix A. Thank you very much. I'll open it up for any questions.
Okay, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Lenners. Now you notice, like, when one person likes to talk a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. A question for Ms. Hanson or Ms. Whiteway. I'm a little surprised to see the Brant Skyloft renovation identified with Council Strategic Initiative. In my recollection, there were a few projects in the past few years that didn't come to fruition, such as the overhead doors. There was other money approved. So I'm just wondering why you're suggesting this come from Council Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you through the chair. So we had evaluated all the projects that were submitted. We first sought to spend the grant funding we had available. And then the other projects we felt aligned well with council's priorities and that it could be a funding source that would be appropriate. Of course, there is another option, but that was what we thought would be best suited for these projects.
Yeah, actually, a couple of them are identified as Council Strategic Initiatives, in my opinion, aren't really things that Council has said, hey, we should do this, and there's no funding source. So the Brant Skyloft renovation, for example, it's a sponsored contract. There should be revenue from that contract to cover the renovation. And so if this was a Council idea or an initiative that Council put forward, then it would make sense to me that the funding source was that. But that one, as well as Activity and Reception Center fencing, that one to me should be a facility, a capital cost, something not, I mean, unless you guys thought it was a great idea to put up a fence and I didn't hear about it, but it's not a Council Strategic Initiative in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Berg.
Thank you, Chair Lehners. So following up to what Mayor Clayton was just talking about, around Council Strategic Initiatives Fund, there are a number of requests coming out of that, roughly $200,000. If we were to approve everything here, how much would be left in that fund?
Ms. Hanson?
Through the chair. So for all the projects currently proposed to come out of the Council Strategic Initiative Fund, it's just over $180,000. If all of these are approved as recommended, that would leave approximately $3.38 million in the Council Strategic Initiative Fund.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you through the chair. I see that you have the coordinated care campus on here for $3.7 million. What does it look like for getting or receiving the grants to maybe counter that request?
And whoever's grabbing the mic for that, sure, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair.
So it does still look quite favorable for us to obtain funding through the co-investment grant. We have been awarded this seed funding previously, which is a good indicator of we're meeting the criteria moving forward. As well, the Rapid Housing initiative has just been announced, but it has not been released. As soon as it is released, we will be applying for that grant as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. What is the grant request that you're asking for at this point?
Thank you, through the chair. So the other grants that we will be pursuing is the Green Initiative Fund, as well as the co-investment, and in addition to the Rapid Housing. And there is one more, I do believe. And that would be also the sales of the proceeds of the former CSD building, as well as future divestments and allocation of sale proceeds for the City on 99 building.
Okay, and the grant that's out for proposal right now, how much is that ask?
So that, through the chair, so that would be dependent on the project, and we're estimating about 30% of the total project, not including the commercial side.
Okay, so that should cover this 3.7 million roughly.
Potentially, yes.
That would be great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Sure, Councillor Blackmore.
Thank you, Chair Laners. There's a number of things on this list that, to my mind, are not urgent or emergent and can wait until budget, which is, a few short months away. And so I'm not really sure why they're on the list. And they would include the service center, CHP, the Brandt Loft renovation, the activity center fencing, board and net support containment, and the cross-country ski equipment. To me, those are not in any way emergent, and I don't believe they need to be on a list right now, that they can wait for budget. I don't know how the rest of council feels about that.
Yeah, I'll just jump right in. I think the intent here, or I was hoping that we would do today, is based on that sentiment alone, is that, and one of the recommendations is to break this up, is to approve going forward and some to go to deliberation. So I think maybe what we'll do is we can just break those out shortly, those on the committee, do a straw vote on which one we want to potentially go to the budget, which ones we want to go mid-year, and then we'll revise the motion otherwise. But I will defer to someone or some with many years of wisdom on this particular issue. So I guess I'll have to settle for Mayor Clayton.
You just called me young. Yeah, absolutely. Just a question so that everybody's on the same page for Ms. Cajolet. Can you explain to my understanding, that the Brandt Skyloft renovation, that renovation is part of a sponsorship package. You don't get the sponsorship unless you do the renovation. Can you clarify for me?
Thank you, through the chair. I'll actually have to defer to CAO Miller for that.
Right. Thanks, Chair Laners. I believe the mayor's correct in her comments about that. And Brandt was donating, it's a total of about $50,000 as well towards the renovation. We thought if we received this other $50,000, we could do like the full-scale renovation of the space is what our plan would be, rather than do part now and then do part at budget or into 2023.
So then, if you do the part now, does that satisfy the contract for the sponsorship?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, through the chair. I guess I would like committee to recognize the activity center for the sound problems that are in there right now. It is over 85 decibels for any amount of time that someone's in there. I think that is a concern that should be somewhat immediate. We're going to have a lot of kids who are going to be in that activity center throughout the summer. And I've been in that building, and it is it's too loud, right? It's too loud for them. It's too loud for the spectators. So for me, I would like to see that one gain some attention, probably before the others.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think we'll go a couple more here with Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. I'm just curious. The coordinated care campus. Do we have with this funding going into it? Do we have an updated business case in terms of that changes mortgage costs, but also it might change operational requirements? Just what's the updated net impact on taxpayers year after year after year if this is approved? Do we have that anywhere?
Slightly.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So we are proposing that we don't borrow any additional funding for this one. So we are looking to allocate the $1 million of proceeds from the old fire hall, as well as use some funding that's available in the future expenditures reserve, with the intention that if the co-investment money is received, we could repay the reserve. So it won't actually have an operating impact or impact to the borrowing.
Supplemental.
So what would happen if we don't receive those grants?
Thank you through the chair. So if we did not receive any grant funding, then it would deplete the future expenditures reserve.
So, and then would it deplete the future expenditures reserve in terms of it would deplete unallocated parts of the future expenditures reserve, or it would impact projects that are currently funded through there?
Thank you through the chair. It would be the unallocated portion, so no current projects.
And we have one, Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question regarding the sound activity reception center request. If we were to let that go till our major budget, how long does it take to order the required equipment and the time it takes to install? Somebody answer that.
Director Miller, I'll get that right one each time. Oh, sorry, Mr. Ajay.
Thank you, Chair Laners. For a project of this scope, it would be required to go to a competitive bid process. So it would take the timing for that and then professional services when they could be secured. So it's anticipated that an engineered design would be required and then the engineered solution to be ordered. So I'm not 100% sure of timeline at this point.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I when I listen to everybody, I'm hearing that some of these items we want to take to council as a recommendation, and some we want to make a recommendation to defer to budget. I'm not seeing any head nods in the wrong direction. So maybe what we, go ahead, Miller.
Thanks, Chair Laners. I just wanted to add a comment. Some of the items brought forward, and I've heard the comments of council as well, but we brought some forward in anticipation of trying to address some of the strategic priorities that are on the future plan, well, the existing plan with council. As an example, the cross-country ski equipment, just thought experience Grande Prairie more, enjoy the park more. If we had the equipment, we could do our own ski trails. But some of those items can certainly be deferred to budget, but we just thought we'd bring it forward and council can consider it. And just more activities and experiences for the citizens of the community is what our plan, sooner than later is what we thought.
Okay. So Daniel has a comment. Ms. Waitway, go for it.
Thank you, Chair Learners. So just adding on to what Director Miller had said, sometimes with the supply chain issues that we have and how long it takes to procure, it was another motivating factor between some of these projects coming forward. We were hopeful to be able to get them out so that citizens could enjoy some of these things come winter, rather than wait for budget. Also, I do just want to speak and clarify on the CHP and the solar project. So we are recommending that we would no longer do the CHP, but rather take that funding and invest it in the solar project to be able to complete that one as it was originally intended. And then the other I'd like to speak to is just the board and netting sport containment system. As we've been finalizing some of our investing in Canada infrastructure projects, we did have a bit of funding remaining. They've opened that up for a short time for new projects to be added. So we had thought we'd take advantage of that funding and add a project to it.
Okay, Councillor Thiessen. Yep, Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Laners. I just got two questions just in regards to, I guess, funding and the cost of certain things. So the sound attenuation in the activity center, I think, is pretty important, but at $470,000, it seems a bit rich, and I get it. Like, these things cost a lot. I know it costs us close to $1 million for the Eastlink Center to do that. Is there any ways we can do this on a budget? Like, I guess, like, I know we're talking budget, $470,000 though. There are some, I think, cheaper ways that we might be able to baffle the sound inside that arena. Has administration looked into any alternatives besides just going to the regular standard shippers and suppliers?
Thank you, through the chair. So professional involvement would be required for an engineered design system, and then the engineered solution is what is estimated to cost the most. Certainly, it would depend on the recommendations from the consultant. We certainly would be open to the most inexpensive option that would be available. This budget number is based on the tender for sound attenuation for the aquatics area of the Eastlink Center that was done in 2016. So sort of our best guess at what could potentially be cost.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Cazalet. Is there a chance that the engineering aspect could be even more expensive, or at this day and age, or are we just hoping that'll come in around the same price?
Thank you, through the chair. The engineered design, we have allocated additional funding from what it cost previously, so we're confident that this should be sufficient, but we won't know until it goes to tender, to be sure.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. I have one more question on a different item, but if anybody has any other questions, I'm sure you can jump in.
In a minute.
Thanks.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair. Just sorry, there. A question for Ms. Whiteway. My recollection, the service center small CHP had already been approved. This was additional money to get it to the finish line. So what money, by canceling this project, if we follow your suggestion, will be available in turn to be applied to the solar project? Because then we would still apply to the Canada Community Building Fund, but we wouldn't be taking from future expenditures, I'm assuming. So what will go back into it?
I'm actually going to give that one to Ms. Hanson. She'll have the details for you.
Thank you. Through the chair. So originally, the small sales CHP project was approved for $300,000 from the Canada Community Building Fund. So we are recommending that the entire $300,000 go back towards the solar project, and then additional $50,000 is approved from the future expenditure reserve to cover the design professional fees incurred to date.
And are there any other projects here that in turn could go to Canada Community Building, such as sound attenuation? Could that go to the Canada Building Fund?
Through the chair. So administration did look into that, and the projects did not qualify for the Canada Community Building Fund.
Okay. Chair Learners, if it's okay with you, I'll get some business going.
Yeah, I just got one question from Councillor Thiessen here.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, and I look forward to business too. Just in regards to the cross-country ski equipment, I think it's great. I used to enroll my son in cross-country skiing. I do know that for a while, Nighthawk had a cross-country ski program, but more importantly, where we enrolled my son was at the Wapiti Nordic Ski Trails, and they had a lot of inventory there for anyone who wanted to rent cross-country skis and stuff like that. Rather than spending $70,000, is there an opportunity that we might be able to partner maybe with either Nighthawk or the Wapiti Nordic Ski Trails to have equipment available for anybody who might want to engage in cross-country skiing from Eastlink Center or wherever?
Ms. Casually.
Thank you. Through the chair, the equipment being proposed is actually the equipment required to actually groom and make the trails that would allow for cross-country skiing within South Bear Creek Park or other areas of the city.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, maybe you want to
Sure.
lead us through.
Casually, just before I make a motion here, on the cross-country ski trails, we're not going to be encouraging people to be skiing on our paved current trail system, right? It would be a separate area.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would certainly defer to Parks in that regard. We have collaborated with them to submit this request, so they certainly do have routes in mind.
Okay. Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah, just, I mean, we already know how busy our paved trails are, so
Yep.
it would be a little bit hairy with skiers on there too.
Okay.
I'm going to move that. Okay, so I'm going to move that. I'm going to do a couple together. So I'll move that the CKC grandstand concession construction and operational equipment for $15,000 and the curling club year-round feasibility study for $20,000 be approved. This I have to go to council. Sorry. So that committee recommend council approve those two, with the funding source being Council Strategic Initiatives Fund.
Okay. You got
One.
Yeah, just waiting on the motion to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that after.
Yeah, you got her. Has it come up yet? No. I don't see it. So maybe, yeah, Councillor Lanier's in favor. Oh. Ah, there you go. Okay.
Sure, and you'll clean that up a bit. Okay. Okay.
And that's carried unanimously.
Unless
Yeah,
you have
please go. Yeah.
I would move that committee recommend council to cancel the service center small scale CHP project.
Any comments or questions on that motion? Okay. Call the motion. And that's carried unanimously. Do you want to keep going?
Unless you have
No.
jump in. I would move that committee recommend council approve the funding for an activity and reception center fencing to the amount of $23,340, with the funding source being future expenditures reserve. The reason I'm suggesting a change in funding sources, after discussion with administration, there is some money being put back into that, and it seems as it's a facility piece that it be more in line with a future expenditure reserve.
Yeah.
Say. Yeah, sorry, 25,340. Yeah.
Council's going to be sick of all these motions coming from our committee here soon.
Part of the job.
Yeah, we're usually pretty easy, our committee. Okay, is it? Okay. And that's carried unanimously. You want to keep?
I do have more, but I have one question maybe for Acting Director Miller. Do you know a lot on the Brant Skyloft renovation? I'm curious if there's economies of scale. I know that building out that facility or that space was a priority. If we do the first part now and another part later, is there any waste costs, etc.?
Thanks, Chair Lehners. In discussions with corporate facilities management, we anticipate there would be savings by doing it all at once, as well as our main tenant at the facility is really encouraging us to make this happen sooner than later. They feel it would enhance the experience for the citizens at storm games as well. So.
Okay, Councillor Berg, question?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Lehners. My question is actually more of a clarity. Which space is the Brant Skyloft?
Sunroom.
So the corner above the Zamboni?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll do a couple more, and then
Sure.
I'm going to leave some for other people to mess up. I would move that committee recommend council the Coca-Cola Center Solar Project in the amount of $500,000 be funded from the Canada Community Building Fund. And was there that one? Nope, that's it. That one.
Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Whiteway.
Thank you through the chair. Could I just recommend that it be 850? So with the cancellation of the small scale CHP, we would allocate that 300 to make it 850,000.
Sure.
Thank you.
Amend that to 850.
What's the payback on this solar panel thing?
Ms. Pinkoff.
Okay, Ms. Pinnock.
Thank you. Through the chair. The payback, the simple payback is 9.5 years for the solar PV project at the 1.8 million. At the 1.3 million, which is the smaller project, it would be 15.3 years.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Lehners. So on those dates that you just gave us now for payback, does maintenance have to come into it, 7 years from now, 12 years from now, 15 years from now? Like, is it worth it? Like, yeah, the payback is, 12 to 15 years, but if we have to keep putting input costs, I question if it's valuable.
Ms. Whiteway.
Thank you through the chair. So with solar panels, there's very little for maintenance. So it would be included, any foreseen would be included in that calculation, but it's very limited, especially when compared to a CHP unit.
Okay, and what's the lifespan of solar panels?
Thank you through the chair. They're estimated at around 25 years.
So at worst case scenario, 10 years advantage. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mayor Clayton.
Ms. Whiteway, can you let council know what other projects we may have on the books that may qualify for this fund? I think this is a scenario. Remind me, this is a federal grant, correct? So it's not impacting the taxpayers at all. We will have a net gain after 15 years. So in essence, it's free money in 15 years. But what other projects may be not considered because of this one absorbing some of the fund?
Thank you through the chair. So correct, this is the federal funding, previously known as gas tax fund. So We have not allocated this to other projects. It's available. So your other option is if you don't spend it today, it would be included in the 2023 capital plan as a funding source for projects that are brought forward.
Okay, so my motion is committee recommend council. So at this point, it's for committee to send to council for further discussion.
On allocating 2 solar cells specifically, or to
This project, the Coca-Cola Center solar project,
okay,
using the federal grant money.
for that project.
Yeah. There's still other projects that may come in the fall budget, correct, Ms. Whiteway? Thank you. Okay.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I've got another motion.
Okay, we'll finish this one first then. Gosh, if it was any other business, you wouldn't do it. But since it's free money, it's not free money. Yeah, it's all our money. But someone in Quebec is going to pay for most of it, so maybe it's not the end of the world. So probably support it in that regard.
I have a quick question, Councillor Laners. Ms. Whiteway, this grant has money added to it every year, does it not? So any future projects will be able to access new grant money through the same grant stream, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. This is an annual program. So usually if there's any left from previous projects, we bring it forward in this situation for mid-year or also for 2023 deliberations. So yes, it's an annual program.
Okay. So we have the motion, and I'll call the motion. And that's carried. Councillor O'Toole, you wanted to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to request that the coordinated campus request be funded in this. So council support this pre-budget emergency. And to speak from it, we're still, from what I heard from my administration, we're still below our official budget. This is just to get things going, to look after these people, to get it done in an efficient time. And that was our mandate at the beginning, and now we're asked to make this happen. So that's my support.
And is that comment true that we're even with the 3.75, we're below our initial budgeted estimate?
Thank you through the chair. Yes, so despite the cost escalation, we believe that we are under budget in terms of cost per door. So when we look at the 26 unit that is being proposed in Spirit River, the cost per door there is $285,000 per door. And then when we look at Lethbridge's current project, the 42 unit permanent supportive housing project is $320,000 per door. And currently we are at $121,000 per door.
Yeah, but that if you look at it that way, I guess. But the original number when everybody was kind of bantering this about pre-election was about 15 million, and so is this beyond the 15 million, or is this still within that $15 million? And I could be wrong with the 15 million. I just kind of pulling that number out of my memory. So.
Thank you through the chair. So this would be above to provide contingency for the fire mitigation that is required to the building, and as well still have the project intent as we laid it out before in the proposal. So the programming will still proceed. We also have looked at comparables, and with this investment, we will also have included the equipment as well as furniture and linens, as well as housing the other departments, which will be located on site as well.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Bressy.
Thanks. I'm just still concerned in terms of we pretty clearly laid out the numbers before, and now they're changing, and I don't know where residents or even council, for that matter, would go to figure out what new numbers look like. Is there going to be an updated business case or an updated budget, or how, if council approves this, could residents or us in 3 months go back and see what we've actually committed to this and what's actually going into this project?
Anyone? Ms. Whiteway.
Thank you, through the chair. So when we do these mid-year capital updates, we do update the capital plan online. So the original project was approved for $15.5 million. This would add an additional $3.75 million to that $15.5 million. But you will see that online with an updated budget.
Mr. Bressy.
Great, I appreciate that, but this one is a little bit different, both in terms of scope and in terms of what we're doing here, and in terms of, frankly, public attention too. Is there going to be anywhere where we're still insignificantly less per door than other similar projects, and we're not having huge operational costs? And I don't know how I go out and I evaluate that as a council and I make that case to the public with the information we have publicly available right now. So what kind of publicly released information is there going to be so that I can still show to residents that I think this is a good use of taxpayer dollars?
Thank you, through the chair. So once the general contractor tender has been awarded, that will be a requirement that they provide us with new timelines as well as a formalized budget.
Okay. Any further questions on that? Okay, again, this is just a recommendation of council. Council can beat this up later on. Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Chair Laners.
I'll call you Councillor Miller. You got just one. You can have my job. I'll be direct.
I just wanted to add, today we're anticipating the tender will go out for phase 1 and phase 2, which is the south side of the building. Everything on the south side should be going to tender. So we're fine to go to tender, but to award it, we do need the funding in place. So we're anticipating out to tender for about 3 weeks, about a week to evaluate. So by the end of July-ish, we should be able to award it, but we do need the funding approval.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, I'll call that motion. Yeah, and that's carried. Okay, we got a few residual ones left over here. We have to deal with the Brant. Maybe potentially, I don't know. I can't make motions, can I? No. Okay, so seeing no other hands up, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Laners. I would move that committee recommend council move the cross-country ski equipment to fall budget deliberations for consideration. That's good for that.
Councillor O'Toole.
I was wondering, when that does come to fall budget, if we could have potential routes proposed for this equipment. Yeah. We can make our decisions then. Thank you.
Ms. Casually.
Through the chair, I did receive confirmation from Parks that all of the trails proposed would be on the natural trail system, so no asphalt trails.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense too. There's some nice spots out there. It'll be a good idea that I will support later on, so for sure. Ms. Blackmore.
Have we discussed, we have not got motions yet for the activity center fencing and board and netting, sport containment, sound attenuation. And
we have the fencing one. That was the 25,340. That's done.
Which one's done?
The fencing one is done.
Fencing one's done.
$25,000 one.
And the motion right now is just for Brant. Oh, right. Okay.
Okay. So we have that motion. We'll leave it like that. Call that motion. Okay. Let's take another stab at another cat.
That committee recommend council approve the sound attenuation at the board and netting sport containment system. And that it be funded for $65,000, be funded through investing in Canada infrastructure program.
Okay. Questions, comments? Sure.
If you were to play floor hockey in that place right now, there's the main columns coming down. And if you're, doing a breakaway you could not be focused on the steel columns and you could run into it with the boards on there, it would be less painful. So I think this is a needed thing and I'd support it.
Well, like my dad used to say, if it doesn't cost you anything or if it doesn't hurt, you don't learn anything. So we're going to deprive our children of a learning opportunity. But anyway, so any comments on this? Seeing none, call the motion. Okay. Someone, before we tackle the sound attenuation, Ms. Casulet, is it possible to break out to have the engineering done right away as a separate item and then defer the rest to the fall if need be, if it makes sense? I don't know what roughly the engineering component is, but.
Thank you through the chair. Based on discussion with procurement and corporate facilities management, involvement of the engineered design is estimated to cost $50,000, and then the engineered solution, the remainder of the budget. So certainly it is something that could be provided.
Okay, thank you. That'd be a great idea if someone would do that.
I'd make that motion.
Okay, you get that? I think Kevin wants to say what?
Well, I was going to make that motion, but you jumped in. So, and you're the chair, so you have all the right in the world.
Oh, I can't make a motion.
But I will make that motion to the council approve the engineering aspect of the sound in the activity reception center, coming from future expenditures. Well, for the $50,000.
Sorry, Councillor Connor.
Yes, my concern is that we're going to be coming into the winter season without a solution, and that's when it's going to be the most active. So I'm concerned that, and with supply chains, as mentioned by Director Whiteway, is that may be a concern. So we'd waste valuable time. But that's just a comment. I don't have a vote on this committee, but I'd like you to consider that.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Laners. My question, I guess, is, yes, we could do engineering for 50,000 or whatever that's going to be, but isn't there professionals in this business who can equally tell us what needs to be done? Like, I'm not sure you need to go to an engineering service when there is professionals in this business who do this daily. So maybe a free quote from somebody would be a great idea.
Ms. Casulet, about free quotes.
Thank you through the chair. There's nobody certainly in-house that has the expertise to be able to do this. Based on discussion with corporate facility management, this was the recommended route, but certainly if that's direction of committee council, we can explore other options.
Yeah, well, we'll make that motion, but I'm sure if you do some further inquiries and label to say $50,000, then we won't be offended. So, but we do have a motion on the floor. Oh, okay, but we still have a motion on the floor, so we should vote on this motion. Oh, Director Miller. That's hard to do. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Laners. I was going to say the same thing, that we'll certainly explore options, and if we can save some money out, we will.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have the motion. Okay, which one do we have left? Do we have anything missing still?
I think, Councillor Laners, we have the Brant Skyloft renovation remaining.
Okay.
And as there are some savings that may take place if we proceed with this, I would move that council approve the Brant Skyloft renovation of up to $50,000 from the council's strategic initiatives fund, although I'm not sure that that's where the fund money should come from.
Yeah, Mayor Clayton.
Make an amendment or a suggestion that it be approved from future expenditures reserve.
Absolutely. So future expenditures reserve.
Beautiful. I'm getting misty over here. Okay, call the motion. Oh, I think we have slayed that dragon. So I gotta go back to my original stuff here, and that's carried unanimously. Okay, I'm looking at, so I think that item's done. I don't see any correspondence. I don't see any other business. Bylaw and policy review, we have council remuneration.
To that, I have one other thing. After discussion with administration, curious if committee would take a friendly amendment, or we can revote it on the social procurement in the CKC grandstand, that the motion say up to 3 years, so that if somebody who's interested in it doesn't want to be tied in for 3 years, they don't have to be. So if everyone's good with that, okay. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. And so anyway, we're going to council remuneration.
And before we start on that, I would just like to make a motion to postpone item policy 100 council remuneration to the next appropriate standing committee for time's sake and opportunity for further discussion.
Yeah, no panic, I don't think. So,
no.
Okay. We don't need to make a motion on that, do we? Or do we? Yeah, okay, we'll make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. I don't see, there's nothing on our outside of my items list, so I will call this meeting adjourned.